weird thing because I don't know who I mean, I don't see many of the guys that are there's nobody that's coming out right now that I'm going like, that's a fucking future legend. There's not many, and it's weird. And I don't know if it's maybe it's because there seems to be more uniformity now with fighters that are coming out. Dude, to be honest with you, I think it's psychologically a lot to do with the fucking Reebok uniforms. I do those
What do you mean?
I think, dude, it's just everyone sort of is dressed the same. It reminds me of Hunger Games, and it's like they don't let people have as much individualism as I think they could. I think that was a very big part of the sport. You had guys like Chuck Liddell, who's so, his image of the mohawk and the fucking blue shorts and the Iceman and that, the image of him doing that, like there's nothing iconic. There's not many guys right now that are coming out that are sort of like iconic like that. And maybe I'm blind to it because I'm closer to the sport now. But who do you see as sort of like the next dudes who could kind of be that guy, even necessarily not necessarily a future champion, but guys who are like iconic like that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, there is, that lack of individuality, as you say, and the Reebok deal has a lot to do with that. And that's not me knocking Reebok, and that's not me knocking the UFC because, sports have to do that. I mean, even football teams, they wear, I have no issue with that. I really don't. I have no issue with that. But it did take away that bit of self-expression, which is cool to see. For example, look at Dan Hardy, with the mohawk, and all right, Chuck Liddell doing his signature move after winning a fight. They can still do those things. They can still do that. You can still wear your hair however you like it. Mark Casey from England, who lost at the weekend, we'll talk about him shortly. He's got the red mohawk, so you can still express yourself, but it's not the same as being able to choose your shorts and all that type of
Your
stuff.
shirt, your shorts, your it felt like
But that's a very old school thing. I mean, when I look back and I watch some old fights and you see the banner, I saw some Bellator recently and they're still using banners. I cringe. I used to hate doing the banner, and then you stand there and you show all your sponsors. And the thing that always bothered me about the banners is most people's banners had a giant picture of them on the banner. Okay. But they're standing in front of the banner on the camera. It's like, you're on TV right now, you dumb fuck. You don't need a picture of yourself on the banner. You're stood in front of the banner physically. Actually, you're right there right now.
yeah.
White power.
White power. But you can't actually just go white power into the camera because somebody could just edit it out out of context.
No, I know. Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying it was a little throwback to last week. I just saw myself do that. So if you're a regular listener, you understand the joke and whatnot.
Or
And
if it's the
not,
first
then,
time
I
you've
guess
ever
you
heard
think
of
I'm a
this show.
racist, white supremacist, so which I'm not. But yeah, the banners, I'm glad to see them gone. I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is, but I do think a lot of people this year will be retiring. So we're going to see a lot of the household names, which is good. It gives new people a chance to come out and really make a name for themselves and become stars. You asked me, who do I think those people are going to be?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, that's a difficult one.
and it's almost like it just feels a little bit more like, and this is like, this isn't, it's a very strange thing. It almost feels like a little bit more contrived, like they're trying to push certain people. We always bring it back to Sage and Paige, and that's a perfect example of like, instead of sort of letting Sage and Paige become the icons themselves, it's almost like they're saying like, look, these are the new icons that are going to be in like the future of the sport.
Listen. I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and I understand why you're saying it. But the problem is with what you're saying, the problem for everybody that feel that there's a push of Sage and Page and all the rest of it is because they look good, right? So Reebok chose them and gave them, personal deals. Of course, all fighters are sponsored by the UFC. We get money for wearing the outfit. That's what they call it, the Reebok outfits. Fight week, we get a small, amount of money. But a lot of fighters outside of that get their own independent deals, which pays way more money. So Paige and Sage are two of those, and there's many others. But they picked them, and I don't know this, but I'm not because the UFC pushed them on them, because Reebok chose them. And if I was running a big time sporting brand, I'd probably pick them as well because they look good. I mean, they wouldn't want my mangled up face on there. They wouldn't want Mark Hunt out of shape. You know what I mean? With a skin tight Reebok top on. You want a good looking guy. You want a good-looking girl that looks sporty and athletic, you know?
No, not
Whatever you
me.
say.
If I'm running Reebok, I want personalities that are going to connect with the fans. We're in a
Yep.
different generation. This is a social media generation where people, back in the day, if when I was a kid, I used to love like pro wrestling, right? If I wanted to reach out to the Undertaker, I had to fucking find a letter of his, the address for his manager, I guess, and write a letter somewhere. And it would never get to him. And that was that. Like that, some dumb letter is just out in a mailbox somewhere. Now you can tweet at somebody, you could reach out, you can, live chat, people do Instagram live. You are so accessible to your fans that I'm looking at the way you connect with your fans and I go, yes, that is the type of personality that I want to represent my brand because he has an everyman quality. Also, you're a fucking athletic. It's not like you're not a good looking athletic dude. You know what I'm saying? People.
Yeah, no. So, sorry, I'm not talking about me though. I just said that as an example, and you're right in what you say. You are correct. I fully agree with you. I'm just saying, I'm just playing devil's advocate. I mean, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying, and they're not, by far the best representatives of UFC and UFC talent and what the UFC can bring to you. But Sage Northcutt has an amazing future, and he's still very young in the sport. And same with Paige Van Zandt. They're both young, they're both talented, they both work hard. But they both look good. And in this day and age, when they're trying to sell things, of course, to hardcore MMA fans or even, enthusiastic UFC fans, they see that and they understand the gimmick of Sage and Paige and all the rest of it. But the masses, the big crowds of people that aren't hardcores, the very, very casual fans, if they're walking through a store and they see a little cardboard cutout of Paige standing there or Sage standing there looking all perfect and, the spiky hair, which is ridiculous, and all the rest of it, they might, oh, look at these guys. They're a good representative of UFC because they're trying to make it a mainstream sport. Now, of course, as I said a moment ago, I know that they're not the best representatives of talent and skill in the UFC, but there's a reason why they get pushed forward by certain companies like Metro PCS. They use them as well. Now, I don't know, maybe it is the UFC putting them forward, but I don't think it is. They probably have good agents and the companies like the way they look and talk.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the UFC doing it. Whatever the forces are that are sort of putting guys like that at the forefront, I just think it's kind of short-sighted and it's transparent to anybody with half a brain, right? Anybody, they look at it and they go like, oh yeah, obviously they're good looking and they're giving those guys the opportunities. And I feel like I think that turns people off. I think if you talk to people just on an individual basis, if you went around the country and just gave them that fact, they said, no, these aren't the winningest fighters. They aren't the best representatives for the sport. They just look good in the shorts. I think most people in the world would go, yeah, I don't like that. That's not really what I'm looking for in a brand. And I think that it's short-sighted for the brand not to recognize that and not to see that there's a sort of bigger picture there.
Yeah, I kind of agree, to be honest. I mean, if you look at other sports, I guess they would have champions or they would have, people that were legendary players of their teams. They'd have Tom Brady or people like that, or they'd have Olympic champions, MMA champions, which they do. They do have some champions as well. I'm not trying to shit all over Reebok, but you're right. Okay, you win that argument, Lewis.
Finally.
I concede. I concede a little bit. I mean, let's not get your knickers in a twist here. Let's not get overly excited. But I know
Also,
those people that like to
Metro
talk shit and say
PCS.
that people are saying on YouTube, Lewis, that I argue with you just for the sake of arguing with you.
That might be true.
I would never argue just for the sake of arguing. I don't want to argue. I want a peaceful life. I've lived my life in combat. I want peace, quiet, tranquility.
Well, I will
Certainly
also
don't want to argue with you.
If you look, I do a lot of podcasting, and if you don't want to have two guys that are agreeing about everything on every show. That gets to be
it's boring.
It gets to be pretty boring. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I could just shake my head. Yes, look, there's sometimes, I think there's a lot of times where most issues, if you're a smart fucking person, you're going to land on both sides of sometimes, whether it's about MMA, life, social issues, whatever it is. You can see both sides. If you're a smart human being, you're not so pig-headed to go, this is it. And I think sometimes one of us will make a statement or have an opinion on something, and for the sake of making it an interesting show, the other one will play devil's advocate for the sake of having a real conversation. And it doesn't mean that they're being fake. It just means that you're trying to discuss the other side of it at the same time. And I'm not so connected to one side of an opinion a lot of the time that I can just argue one side and kind of, make it more, in my opinion, a more interesting conversation.
It's called having a spirit. For all of our fans out there in the UK, I've got an awesome hookup for you. Want a free case of craft beer? Well, as a listener to our show, we'd like to thank you for listening with the help of our friends at beer52.com. Just go to beer52.com/believe to claim a free case. Beer 52 is the world's most popular monthly craft beer discovery club, searching out incredible and exclusive small batch craft beers from the world's greatest breweries and bringing them back for their members. There's a whole world of craft beer out there, and this is your chance to get on board with discovering it. Every month focuses on a new country or theme, and if you sign up now, you'll get a chance to try a case of the best British craft beers as part of their summer banger selection for free, featuring the country's best brewers such as Norah and Monk, Ilkley, Red Willow, and Thornbridge. You'll be able to read all about the beers and learn more about how they're made in the 100-page Ferment magazine included in the box. So, number one, as a listener of our show, you can try the first case for free. Just pay $2.95 postage. That's an incredible 8 craft beers, Ferment magazine, and a snack delivered with free next day shipping. It's a no-brainer. 2, there's no minimum commitment. You can just take the free case, try the beers, and see what you think. If it's not for you, you can pause, cancel anytime. Beer 52 has a 5-star rating on Trustpilot, so it's easy to see that their members love the service. So visit beer52.com/believe and claim your free case today. Okay? As simple as that, guys. Beer52.com/believe. Get the beer, get the buzz. Spirited debate, exploring eventualities. Correct, Lewis?
I completely agree. Spirited debate, individualities. Conceive, believe, achieve.
What? Conceive, believe, achieve. You see, DC is going back and forth with Alexander Gustafsson again.
What happened now? Didn't Anthony Smith call out Alexander Gustafsson after his win?
Yeah, Gustafsson called out. Sorry, no, pardon me. Smith called out Gustafsson. Gustafsson says he has an injury. Gustafsson pulled out of the fight with Uzdemir because of an injury. Is Harrington around? Can we pow? Can we hammer fist with Harrington on
hammer
this?
fisting with Harrington? What's going on here?
So basically, after the fight, Anthony Smith just said, hey, I hear Alexander Gustafsson's looking for an opponent for UFC 227. I'm available. I'll see you in L.A. Alexander Gustafsson, shortly after, there were reports that he was injured and would not be able to fight. Ariel Helwani came out less than an hour later saying, yes, those reports are confirmed. It's a quote-unquote minor injury. Apparently, he was supposed to fight Khalil Roundtree. But on Friday, they sent him to the UFC doctors. If he was cleared by them, he would have been able to fight. He was not cleared, so the UFC got out ahead of it. Okay. I'm just
No. Listen.
I'm sorry. I fell asleep. What am I supposed to do? I fell asleep.
You did a rampage at the press conferences. That's what he used to do, didn't he?